For those of you who are waiting online, we're gonna get started in just a couple minutes. We're gonna get started. We're good?
Yeah.
You're good to go?
Good. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order and we're gonna have first Selectman Temple lead us in the pledge. 2 days in a row.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you roll?
Sure. Call roll, from the city of Ansonia, Mayor Tishka. Here. Here, thank you. Town of Beacon Falls, First Selectman Smith. Here. From the town of Bethlehem, First Selectman Buckus.
Here.
It's here, thank you, sir. From the city of Bristol, Mayor Zalposasu.
Here.
You. Town of Cheshire, Assistant Town Manager Andrew Martelli. Here. City of Derby, I believe we have a remote, Mayor Martino.
Here.
Mayor.
Hello.
Sure. You said you-
Okay. We may have microphone problems, speaker problem here.
Hard to see him.
No, we may have speaker problem.
Oh.
Not hearing people. Joe, could you just speak again?
Hello.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thank you.
Is that microphone, speaker one on the other end? Hit the up arrow.
Yeah, that would probably help, man. Yeah. Technology guy.
When in doubt, plug it in.
That'll be $150.
Yeah. Rich, is that gonna cause a problem? We're gonna find out in a second if we have a connectivity problem with that one. Okay, but in the meantime, we can continue with what we have. All right, so I left Mayor DiMartino, he is present and remote. First Selectwoman Mar,
Here.
you, from the borough of Naugatuck, Mayor Hess.
Here.
From the town of Oxford, First Selectman Temple.
Here.
From the town of Plymouth, Mayor Sikorsky.
Here.
Sir, from the town of Prospect, Mayor Chatfield.
Here.
I believe from the town of Seymour, we have First Selectwoman Dragonis online.
Here.
Mayor from Shelton is not here yet. Is First Selectman O'Neill from Southbury on the line yet? Okay. From the town of Thomaston, First Selectman Taleo here. Sure. Mayor Pernaruski is not able to be here. He has the flu and he is on his back. From the city of Waterbury. I believe online we have Town Manager Mark Ramo from the town of Watertown. There. From the town of Wolcott, Mayor Dunn.
Here.
And from the town of Woodbury, First Selectman Zolfa.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum of both bodies. I'll also note for the record that we're joined online by Chris Bernier from Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, as well as Ellen Graham from the Senator Falls office. think I got everyone, unless there's any guests in the room. But, all right.
All right, thank you, Rick. All right, at this time, we'll entertain public comment. Anyone in the room or on Zoom that would like to make a public comment? Give any,
Did not receive any requests online.
All right, last call for public comment. All right, we'll proceed to election of officers, reports of the nominating committee, Mayor Dunn.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there were abundance of letters sent to me, for people wanting to get on, not. We did put a team together. I know there's a lot of new members here, so you'll have your chance, believe me. But for today's report, we're gonna keep Chairman Mayor Hess. Great job. Continue on with Mayor Hess as chairman. Vice Chairman will be Buddy Mayor Loretti here. And then Mayor Penarowski from Waterbury will be coming up as treasurer. And Mayor Bob Chatfield coming back as the secretary from Prospect. And then as our, they're also the members of the executive committee because they're on the board. And now we have George Temple from Oxford. Anne Marie Dragonis will be joining us from Seymour. Myself from Woolkit. Ellen Zappo Sasso, Mayor Ellen Zappo Sasso from Bristol will be joining us, and First Selectman Sylvan Hope from Thomaston will be joining us, if everyone's in favor.
Good, so, we have a proposed motion.
So I'll move to approve. Second.
All right, do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, here we go, another great season.
Congratulations.
All right, election of NVCOG slate of 4 off, oh, we're good, right?
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So, let's go to Rich Donovan, Fifth
Yeah.
Amendment.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think this is probably the best place. Yeah, I agree with that. So we have 2 amendments today for the CNVMPO. Just as a reminder, we'll be removing this slide shortly. I'm sorry if we go back. This is the CNVMPO is the 15 northern towns in the region. The 4 lower valley towns will have a GBB MPO, Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO meeting coming up. Next slide. Thank you. So there's 2 projects today. Project 96-212 is a drainage asset study along Interstate 84. This is looking at the existing conditions, both the condition, the physical condition, as well as the capacity and potential need for the drainage system under Interstate 84 in the towns of Middlebury, Southbury in our region, and the Newtown in the WestCOG region or the Housatonic Valley MPO region. So this study is required of the DOT by Executive Order 21-3, which has directed them to look at the resilience of the interstate system and the major roadway system and recommend improvements where needed. This project is going to get funded out of Formula Protect funds with federal Formula Protect funds. And the second project up today is 171-535. This is replacing traffic control signals throughout District 1. It's PennDOT Maintenance District 1. In our region, it is 2 locations. Both are in Woolkit. One is Route 69 at Munson Road, and the other is Route 69 at Route 322. This one in particular is actually very important to us. We just completed a study routing a new connection between 2 parks in town with an active multi-use trail. And one of the elements to that is an upgrade to this intersection. We've already been in touch with the town and with the project manager about getting the elements that we need for that project included, and we'll hopefully be able to get all of that work done without the town's involvement. Or without the town being responsible to deliver it. And so this is, I forget the total number. I believe it's just about 20 total signals, and again, of them 2 are here in our region. And so with that, we would recommend adoption of resolution 2605, endorsing both of these projects as requested by DOT.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes for approval. Do we have a motion?
Anne Marie, so moved.
Okay,
A second.
second from Ansonia. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report, Michael.
Thank you. So this is the agency financial report for the period ending November 30th, 25. You do have the full report in your agenda packet that went out last week. So this report indicates that we're about 5 months through the year. We are only 38% budget to actual. A lot of that has to do with, we still have the vacant positions that we're working on filling. We do have a net position right now of 136,000, about a little over 4 million in the bank. And our expense, our G&A budget actuals at 33%. Outside of that, we haven't received any unexpected funding cuts. You have a bunch of grant applications that you submitted, but those probably wouldn't be active until next year. And we are still waiting on 1 or 2 fee-for-service contracts that are pending as well. And the NOAA funds for the federal fiscal year 2, we're still waiting on being released. And that's for the Kidney Town Dam grant.
All right, questions for Michael? About as vanilla as it gets, right, Michael?
Right.
All right, can we have a motion?
So.
Motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Director's report, Rick Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a executive board meeting yesterday, and there are several items that were, our annual items that we have to take up. We'll just discuss something not in action. The audit committee is has authorized us to go out with an RFQ for a new auditor. So that'll be published on the 21st of January. Michael has a schedule which will make available to the rest of you. We weren't at the meeting yesterday if you care to see it. But if you have any auditors you'd like to recommend, or it's kind of a desperate situation.
You have somebody that's gonna bid on, there's only like 5 people now that can bid on. The municipalities.
Yeah, well, we're releasing a public solicitation, but we are also going to look at the state's DAS list and go out and invite to pretty much all the CPA firms.
Yeah, we'll invite directly firms to participate, if they have any firms you want to recommend to us.
No,
Make sure
no.
we get them. A list. We are going to invite, I just know we are going to invite our current auditor, even though we're ending a 5-year engagement with them, and typically we would want to change kind of a safety valve for us. They're willing to propose them. It's not unusual. For those of you who didn't hear the discussion, it's not unusual to get no proposals over the last few years. So COGs are having trouble. It's a national problem. So I just wanted to let you know that occurred. First action, which is the annual action of the executive board. The executive board adopts the preliminary budget estimates and due schedule for the upcoming year. The reason for this in January is that we send to your towns and your budget authorities the dues notice so that they know how much to budget for COG expenses for the year. So there was a motion by First Selectman Temple. You all have a copy at your places today of the preliminary budget targets and the due schedule. First Selectman Temple made the motion, and they're done, seconded the motion to send out to recommend to this body to adopt it. Then, so we're gonna be asking you to take that up today. Are we voting on this today, or is this, I can't remember now, I'm so confused. We are voting on it today.
I think we have to.
Yeah.
No, not the preliminary estimates. I take it back. Preliminary estimates are the purview of the board, of the executive board. So they voted on it, they endorsed it, and these are the notices that will go out. I apologize for that. It's a little, my mind is a little, not a little sharp.
Full budget.
Well, yeah, So what we do is we adopt the full budget in May or June, at the May or June meetings. We'll be talking about the budget as we go through. Typically, when we get the state budget completed, then we'll come back with our full budget and we'll adopt it. You can vote to endorse them today if you choose to. But there's no motion on that, on the screen, right? There's one other thing I wanted to note about the targets, because there is something that could get confusing. Last year, the board approved the cost share for the hazardous mitigation federal grant. And agreed that we would split the cost evenly between the town and pay half in fiscal year 26 and half in fiscal year 27. We billed you in fiscal year 26, you all paid, thank you very much for the match. There was a delay from the federal administration, they didn't know this grant was operating and the program operated. So we're not going to need the second payment in the upcoming year, so you won't get billed in the upcoming year for the second payment in fiscal year 27. It will come up in 28. So I just want to make sure you're all aware that even though it'll show up as a reduction from last year of about $2,600, I think, yeah. In our budget request this year to you, but it'll then jump back up $2,600 in 2028. Pay the second half of that, and then the plan and submit it to the federal government. And for those of you who don't know, that's the plan that makes you eligible for federal assistance for mitigation of having FEMA and other agencies. So that's the estimates were adopted, and those notices will go out to your chief finance authority as well as yourselves. And if there are any questions, you can contact us, contact me, contact Michael, we can square away any questions you might have. It adopts a 3% budget increase in dues, which is the last sheet of that should be the schedule. Check that.
Yeah, the second to last sheet is just the dues breakdown. And then for the municipal dues, the last sheet is all the dues and optional programs from brownfields.
So you'll get a notice for everything, the optional things you participate in, the capital purchasing, which is run by Capital Region Council of Governments. Most of the towns participate in that. Household hazardous waste billings, those change. And you should budget a little higher for hosting, or one of the 3 annual ones is held near you, because more of your residents will tend to show up and you get billed for what they actually bring in.
Yeah, so what's on the schedule is just the administrative or the administrative like dues fees for it, but 3 times a year when we host the events, there's additional billing for the actual participation from your municipality.
Right. And then the FEMA match you'll see is deleted from that last column, and then total dues. So the page before is really the comparison. That's your dues year over year. What town pay what percentage of the dues. It's all straight up per capita, and it's just more than 60 cents per capita. So if there are any questions about this, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, any questions? So if you deleted the 2,600 from the sheet.
Correct.
it's just-
Right.
Right.
Yeah, which it was on yesterday's book today.
Yep.
And the notice that you see in the packet is the one that will go out to your town. We'll get them out, Trish will get them out just after this meeting, not this Trish, the other Trish. So. All right, if nothing else on preliminary budget estimates, there was a legislative discussion, we're gonna go to housing act, I'm sorry. So I wanted to update you on this. This is gonna take a bit to get through. So SN is working with the housing working group called the Connecticut COGS to put together the full analysis for the towns as to how this impacts you, what you need to do, when you need to do it. What I'm doing today is trying to bring to your attention the first things that will be coming up for you, which is July 1st. Summary review, that portion of the law goes into effect. And we're strongly advising you to work with your commissions to get your rules updated so that you're in a position to deal with summary review applications as they come in. So SN has provided for us here the section that grants us, this applies SN, I know we have a whole bunch of slides, but
I can cover.
in short, what's that?
Do you want me to cover it in short?
Please, go ahead.
So I'm gonna have Drew pass this out. For those who want the actual statutory language, these are all annotated and we're gonna talk you through summary review and the parking requirements. So this is high level, but this is really the little pieces you'll need. You can keep it, you can give it to your planning staff. They'll know what to do with it, but we want to be sure you're conversant on the pieces you need as well. So Drew's gonna pass that out so that everyone has one.
While we're passing it up
Yep.
for you. Thank you. So the COG directors and our working group staff had a meeting with OPM last week to go over some of the stuff. I want to give you a sort of a general view of, my general view of this. You know, OPM is required to set certain numbers. Those numbers are not related necessarily to the numbers we have to adopt as regions. We're going to have the freedom to figure out what numbers we think are right for our own region. We have their goals over 5 years, and there's no penalty if any individual town doesn't meet them. So there really is no downside to the implementation itself. Politically, I realize it can be sensitive in certain times, but it's a high level operation to get the regional plan in place. And we hope you all join the regional plan because that's what we're going to be able to provide you the most assistance. Now, there are 21 towns which we refer to as the angel towns in the bill, because it's the acronym OPM uses and designates school construction reimbursement. And that group has been cut out in the bill. So that when we assign the targets for the region and the regional plan, we're not allowed to assign any units to the angel communities. And of the 21, we have almost 25% of them in the Naugatuck Valley. And it's almost 20% to 25% of our members. So,
I have them if you want them.
yeah, I think.
Could you read them off?
It's
Yeah.
Antonia,
So they're gonna,
Derby.
they will, it's going to change, they may change again because we need to look at the next angel list because it's the immediate year. So this is for the first group of people who have to go, but we're hearing that it doesn't fluctuate a lot. So there's a possibility if you're here, you're gonna stay here. Plymouth is on it, Bristol is on it, Ansonia's on it, Naugatuck's on it, Waterbury's on it, and I believe that's it for us. Plymouth, Bristol, Ansonia, Naugatuck, Waterbury.
Right.
Yep.
So we're not allowed to assign units, but OPM's interpretation is of those cities, if you have plans to build, if you have a desire to build, we can include them in the plan, but it's purely voluntary on the part of those cities. That's the way the law is written. We don't understand the intent of how they selected these or why they selected that criteria. I can't answer those questions. OPM's not able to answer those questions for us. But, you know, as we've been talking about this, we know we have units planned in almost all of those towns anyway. So we don't think it's going to be a problem. And as I said to you last month, if 19 chief elected officials can get around the table and agree on targets assigned regionally, then we can submit almost whatever we want to OPM, and they're gonna be hard pressed not to accept it if we can be unanimous in how we submit it. So it's a long road. 2029 is when we have to develop a plan and submit the plan. An SN's team will be working on that from here to there. Now, I wanna back away. Any questions about
Yeah, let me
that?
stop
Yeah, go
there.
ahead.
So what happens in the interim? You got communities that are building housing.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the next item, because you have a recommendation you voted on yesterday. I have to report on 8:32.
You voted about it.
Yeah, so.
So do,
I was gone.
Well.
You voted on it.
Yeah.
Their justice.
In their infinite wisdom, have they given any thought to towns that have municipal, regional school districts?
I don't believe, that's had nothing to do with education districts.
You're being kind there, Chatfield, when you talk about them giving thought.
So.
This isn't top of my hit parade. I'm more concerned when I'm gonna get my car for my new position.
It's been ordered, I heard.
Oh, okay. Red, please.
Is there any other questions about that particular aspect of the plan and how it's going to go forward? We'll move on to the stuff that's, immediately of interest for, July 1. SN.
Perfect. So I'm not gonna go over the direct language in here. It's just so you have it, so you can reference it. The high level conversation we're gonna have with you today is up here on the slides. So if Desiree, can you go back one slide? This is the big definition. It's in section 17, but next slide, please. When it's broken down into what matters, an application reviewed under summary review must be able to be approved under the zoning regulations. A new thing that was added, because this was a section that previously existed for nursing homes, is that it articulated various area and bulk standards. So it called out like your frontage, your setbacks. There's a little bit of disagreement about if you can go beyond area and bulk. So that's an area where you might have some discretion. But if it's summary review, the key pieces here is it cannot require a public hearing. So it can't be a variance, a special exception, a special exception. It can't be a special use permit. It cannot be a discretionary action. So it has to be administrative, either a zoning permit or ministerial as a site plan. It can include a determination that a site plan is one in conformance with your zoning regulations and that the public health and safety will not be substantially impacted. So those who are familiar with as of right, next slide, please. It is similar to an as of right approval, except summary review articulated those area and bulk requirements and also gives you that health and safety discretionary determination that you don't have under as of right. So next slide, please. So that's the process. And what the bill did in section 16, it requires zoning regulations to allow transit community middle housing developments or mixed use development on any lot that is zoned for commercial or mixed use development by summary review. So we've added the definitions here for you. The longer summary is going to have all this information, so we're just making you aware of it. Next slide, please. And so that's what you're required to do. What you can do is you can also allow transit community middle housing developments on any lot for residential use, subject to summary review. You may ask, why would we do that? If you do that, if you comply with the optional provision, you get additional housing unit equivalent points towards an 830G moratorium. That's the incentive they've created. And so next slide, please. The ambiguity here that we're seeing that's important to bring to your attention is that it's saying that for the uses, they must be allowed by summary review on any lot that is zoned for commercial or mixed use development. And so the way that the housing working group sees it, it could fall one of two ways. If you're interpreting zone 4 to mean the purpose of the zone or district, a lot of your zoning regulations articulate at the beginning, the purpose of this residential zone is to solely be residential or focused in these ways. And some of your transitionary zones, you say the purpose is residential and commercial or to allow for mixed uses. So if you're interpreting zone 4 to mean that purpose, then we think that only zones where the purpose is for commercial or mixed use, that you have to do the summary review for those two new things, so mixed use development or the transit communities. But if you interpret zone 4 to mean that in any zone or district that allows for commercial or mixed use development, that's a much broader, that's a way more expansive definition of it. And then it would mean any zone in which you're allowing commercial and or mixed use. And especially in New England, a lot of our residential zones allow for like corner shops, grocery stores, little things, pharmacies. We see that across our region. If it's that lower interpretation, if you allow commercial in a residential zone, you're gonna have to fix your regulations. So whether it's purpose or what's actually in your use table is not clear from how it's written. You have it here so that you can review it. You can put it in front of your attorney to see how they're gonna argue and defend it for you. But we think that this is something that hopefully will get clarified for us. It's just not clarified yet. Are there questions about summary review? In this piece, so it's summary review as it relates to the uses you need to allow by summary review.
So with regard to the summary review and you need to take prophylactic action with your zoning regulations to protect yourself and give yourself the power under which the summary review takes place. You can establish criteria. Stop me if I misspeak.
Yeah, it's not clear if you can go beyond area and bulk. It's an including but not limited to. So it's how far you want to expand that list, but the things that are in that list are only area and bulk requirements. Some communities are saying, well, we're gonna still do design and aesthetics. That's a question you can't answer based on what's written in that piece of statute.
But, so one of the things that the COG directors are talking about, and make a decision by the end of this month as to whether we can do it. So we're committed as NVCOG to assist your commissions and towns with coming up with some model language that they can at least look at and some guidance that they can look at in considering what to do with your own regulations. We're talking as statewide COG directors about using some of the money the state's giving us to hire a single consultant to write an analysis and model regulations to send to your commissions, so that you have something to work with. So we'll figure it out one way or another, but you will be getting support from us to your commissions in trying to develop language that gives you the most control as a community under the laws.
Yeah, well, wouldn't that apply to everybody? The language is the language.
But everybody's zoning regs are different today.
Yeah, but when you sit here and give us an explanation about this law and there's so many things that are unclear. How could it be unclear? You know, I mean,
That's quite a question.
how can so many things be unclear?
You just get elected.
When you listen to people in Hartford, you think like, yeah.
You know what year it is?
So, I mean, we do expect that there's gonna be a fixed bill, to clarify some of these things in the upcoming session. But, yeah, there are some things that are just not, clear. We're, in our meeting with OPM, we are all in agreement that we need to take, positions and interpretations that, you will exploit the gray areas in this, to make sure that towns maintain as much control as possible under the statute.
And I think that's also why we're articulating the ambiguities, because so long as it's not clarified, as long as your attorney's comfortable making an argument under either of these camps, or if your attorney's comfortable going outside of area and bulk, that's the person that really, it's your planner, but it's really your attorney that's gonna have to defend you if someone doesn't like how you did this.
Can I throw it about Rick?
Sure. It's your meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Speaking as someone that's spent a lot of time in this area, I'll just say this from a lawyer standpoint. Sometimes confusion can be a very good thing. That's all I'm gonna say. We can't fix what.
So leave it up to the court to decide.
No, but if you don't like what someone thinks, you can argue it. It works both ways.
So, and like I said, we will work with you and your commission.
But do other countries around the state have the same interpretation and feelings as what's being explained here today?
Yeah, SN is leading up with two other women, the working group, for all the COGs of the state who are trying to figure out this bill. We're close to completing.
We're really, really close. By the end of, so we're gonna talk about it later as well, but we believe that our legislative summary will be out either at the end of next week or the end of the following, so it's gonna be out before February. We went through a very rigorous review process where when you get the summary, by the end of the process, at least 4 COGs have affirmed each section that's been reviewed. And then the 3 women, including myself, who have been leading the effort to ensure that there's consistency. And the reason why it's taking us a long time is the bill's 108 pages and we're going now line by line, making sure what's written makes sense to what everyone has affirmed. And we're also adding in, so it's organized by municipal actions, what you're required to do, what's optional for you to do, and then fiscal considerations, and then COG, required, optional, fiscal. We're also articulating some areas that your planners and you should know about. We're calling out additional fiscal things where you might need to spend money. And then we're also identifying all the places where if you want technical assistance, hello, just reach out. It will take note of it. Rick has made a commitment that we're gonna do this as an org, but it's for the other cogs as well to say, some might only do it if a certain amount, give them that threshold. I think we're in the camp and committed to, even if one of you says, please help, we will be providing that assistance. So it's coming. It's just been a lot of work. And Desiree is leading our design for us. So it's NVCOG is really playing a strong role in leading here. It's just not easy to get through something this big.
But just
So unclear.
to summarize where we are, we're trying to give you a high level view of the things that are coming out quickly that you need to be aware of, you might need to deal with in your budget, and amending your zoning regulations, upcoming. Following everything that SN just talked about, we will be holding training sessions for the commissions, as well as CEOs if you want to participate, on the bill and how to implement the bill. And we'll be doing that statewide, and, there'll be videos,
Yeah.
for that. We're working with the other cogs doing it, but it's been a heavy lift for every cog.
Yeah.
And then, then we'll have a pretty good picture of what's going on now. Timing is never good. Simultaneously, we're gonna be working on legislative things, which we'll talk about as soon as we get through. SN has a whole bunch of slides here, and we need to move through these quickly in this section.
Okay, I can go through parking
While I
fast.
get rolling.
Do you want me to go through parking?
Yeah,
Quickly?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just, because this is the other thing that's.
Yep. So yeah, the first red one is summary review. The second one with the staple is parking. So again, I'm gonna stick to the slides, but you have all the language you need. And I just really want to thank the community planning team. The reason why they walked in late is because they were making sure you all had the annotations you needed here. So thank you so much to the team. So for parking, again, this is another July 1 deadline. So there's two things here. In section 18, it amended the Zoning Enabling Act, which is section 8-2. And it prohibits any community that zones from requiring a minimum number of off-street motor vehicle parking spaces for any residential development, with the exceptions that are articulated in section 19. So we're gonna talk through 19 as well, but that main piece of zoning, and the main statute that enables you to zone has what you can do and what you can't do. This is now one of those shall nots. You cannot do that. And there's also minor modifications to manufactured homes, but we're not going to focus on them today. Next slide, please. So the two exceptions in section 19 are for where you can provide minimum off-street residential parking requirements are for residential developments of 17 and over units, and residential parking within a traffic or a conservation and traffic mitigation district for under 16. So we're going to talk about that. There's some ambiguity there. Next slide, please. So we'll talk about each piece. So if it's a residential development of over 16 units, so 17 plus, a municipality can require parking minimums for residential developments, but must allow a developer to submit a parking needs assessment. These parking needs assessments are new, and so they have to include the analysis of the information and considerations provided on the right. I'll move quickly. You have it on your slide. You have it in your packet here. It's highlighted so you can see where the considerations lie. Next slide, please. And so if a developer submits a parking needs assessment, you are still restricted on how many parking spaces you can require. It has to be the lesser of the amount recommended by the parking needs assessment, or one off-street parking space for every studio 1 bedroom, or 2 off-street parking spaces for every 2+ bedroom unit. In practice, I think this is going to be a little frustrating in the sense the lesser of means that even if your developer's coming saying, I need more spaces than 1 for every studio 1 and 2 for every 2+ bedroom, you have to do the lesser of. So you are hamstrung there. And so what I'll say that is really important that I'll bring to your attention about this is the parking needs assessment is paid for by the developer. You have been empowered in 2023 to update your zoning regulations to require third-party reviews to be paid for by the developer. If you have not done that yet, you should make sure that is in your regulations. That QR code that's on the screen, and then we can follow up with the land use brief via email. we wrote a land use brief for you about this whole section. And so it's a short document that's just meant to high level. It's the kind of thing you can read with a cup of coffee. If it's not in your regs, get it in your regs as soon as practicable. Because you will be able, when the developer submits the parking needs assessment, if your commission's unsure and you have expert technical support established, you can make that developer pay for the third-party review of their work. It's not developer friendly because you're then making them pay for the parking needs assessment and the review of the parking needs assessment, but you don't want your municipality paying for those reviews.
SN, I just wanna, and I don't wanna go too long or too far sideways with this. Did you say that even if the town and the developer agree on more parking, they can't approve it?
It's lesser. So you have to go the lesser of the parking needs assessment or one for every studio, one bedroom. Or two for
So this is
every.
A list of potential fixes for the General Assembly?
If it pleases the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's clear on lesser. So that means, that's where I think it could be persnickety, especially in some of our suburban areas. You might need more parking for that might be what their pro forma requires or their financier needs. But it's lesser. So, yep.
Vanna, is there any discussion about who's qualified to do a parking needs assessment?
Not in the statute. So I think you're gonna end up with a similar. I hope you end up with people who are doing what we see in traffic right now. But it's not required. So that's where I think the expert technical support is gonna be important. Because if you're getting Joe Schmo that's coming in with the parking needs assessment, you don't want Naugatuck to pay for it. You don't want Beacon Falls to pay for the review of that. You wanna be able to pass that back on to them.
They're paying for it, we don't want to accept it.
Yeah.
They're not qualified.
And so there's nothing about who's qualified to submit one. It's just the information of what needs to be in it. Even more reason, get someone who can tell you the person's not qualified or they don't like what's in there.
Right, but they can write into their regulations who they say is qualified.
That was my question.
It doesn't say they can't.
It doesn't say they can. Yeah.
But it'll be appealed.
Well, no, if you write in your regulation, then it must be an expert in, transport parking. But,
So,
okay.
so that's,
Keep moving.
yep, next slide, please. So we talked about 17 plus, now we need to talk about 16 under. So you can establish a new thing, everything's is new things. This whole bill is, I always capitalize term of arts. I think that sometimes makes it easier to realize it's a new thing in here. So you can establish up to 2 conservation and traffic mitigation districts that can require parking for any residential development under 16 units. More info about what has to be in the conservation and traffic mitigation district will be provided in that large summary, but you all have an annotated version of the bill where we've articulated what has to be in the conservation and traffic mitigation district. I didn't want to go that far into depth today, but in those instances, developers can still submit the parking needs assessments, and if they submit one, you're hamstrung back under the lesser of what we just talked about. So either the lesser of their assessment or the 1 for studio, 1 bedroom, 2 for 2 bedroom. Next slide, please. There are rejection criteria that are articulated in the statute. You must not reject an application solely based on the failure to meet off-street parking requirements. This is new. Your commissions previously had the power to deny based on not meeting parking because that was not compliant with your regulations. So if your commissions are gonna end up in a denial situation, can't do so unless the lack of parking will have a specific adverse impact on the public health and safety that cannot be mitigated through approval conditions that do not have a substantial impact on the viability of the development. That's saying you can't condition something that then makes the project unviable because you've made the parking too onerous, too expensive, or you have to find the health and safety argument. I will note that language is really similar to the language in 830G that's used. I don't say that to confuse you, I just say it's, if you've gone through that process, it's that similar framework of how you can reject. And then, next slide, please. Unfortunately, there's drafting ambiguity here too. The act allows for minimum parking requirements for residential developments of over, it's written in a particular way that it's 17 and over, and the creation of conservation and mitigation districts for under 16 units. So any residential development of exactly 16 units is now in the Bermuda Triangle.
I was gonna say.
We don't know. It's a drafting error. Someone didn't put the or more in the wrong spot. But we can't give you guidance on when it's exactly 16. That will probably most certainly be fixed, in the next session. So those are the two really quick as I could give you run-throughs of what has to happen in July. The summaries are coming. There's a CCAPA one next Thursday. There's a cost one coming up at the end of the month. And then the COGs are going to do, we've organized this bill into 4 themes: transit-oriented communities, miscellaneous zoning changes, housing growth plans, and another section, I'm sorry, it's escaping my memory. We're gonna do trainings around each of those themes. So if you're a community where transit-oriented communities is not relevant for you, maybe you skip that one, but the ones that are, you'll be able to pop in. Are there any questions on parking or?
Who determines the health and safety issue of parking?
I think that's where you're ending up. Again, my mind goes to the 830G process of it's your EMS saying, you know what I mean? I don't know what it looks like because we don't have any case law about what the health and safety is. I'm a little nervous, especially if it's
That's the job of every parent selecting this.
yeah, if it's a state road, I think you're gonna be in a worse situation because of your OSTA approvals. It's not your health or safety issue, the state's road. This is me just speculating. I think that's gonna be a pickle in it. But a lot of times with 830Gs, it's really clear because it's utilities or it's it's an access egress emergency management concern. I don't know what it looks like from a parking. I think the only thing that really is there is access egress. But there's gonna be a lot. Well, no, it's not a good answer, but we're gonna know in the next 5 years as people get sued in the same way it was done with 830G. And we understood what actually was the criteria that counted versus didn't.
So I have a question there. As vague as this is, you haven't mentioned utilities at all. You know, wells, septic, sewers, how are they addressed in some of these regulations? Are they, and would it be, because it seems that circumventing a lot of zoning regulations that require minimum requirements for standards with utilities, without utilities. Where do utilities come in this? Because you haven't mentioned that once.
I think that they still
In the
exist.
summary review.
Yeah, well, in the summary review and actually the bill in general to really address the utility issue.
Yeah, there's some
So-
stuff in there we can talk about.
Is that clear?
It's,
Is it, so OPM has to conduct a study of wastewater and water and wastewater, right?
I think so, but for these sections, I think you're gonna have to, so for the transit-oriented middle communities, that big first definition in mixed use, I think that health and safety piece of summary review is the utilities piece. I think that you're gonna have to make. So, and I don't wanna confuse people, but I think that's where it's similar to 830G is, if you don't have the utilities and someone's trying to do these things, that's.
That's never stopped them before.
I know, but we technically didn't lose there, cause it was, if you.
Fine.
I know, but we ended up in I was first Selectman Smith's town planner, we had an 830G on health, safety and welfare. The court said, yes, only if they can get their approvals from the utilities they needed. They couldn't get their approval for the utilities. So I think if they're not getting the approvals, if it's the same situation where someone doesn't have their health district like approval, they don't have the letter from Aquarian saying they're gonna tie in, that's a health and safety issue you're gonna call up. But it's not what, yeah,
You're right,
yeah,
but I don't think it carries the day.
it's gonna be it's until we know the
But it's still
court,
ongoing.
yeah.
But to Mark's point, I mean, there's nothing clear about it until they even address it. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm.
And in parking, I don't think you're talking about utilities at all, cause they're paving, they don't care.
But the strange thing is that the parking section is what allows for you to declare a conservation district where you could require parking, oddly enough. But the conservation district does not apply to the summary review section, right? That's not.
The parking district, they're separate sections.
Right.
One is about like how you can regulate parking and one is taking away your discretion about mixed use developments and that transit I'm just gonna have it in front of me. Transit Community Middle Housing Development, term of art.
So where we go?
So I have a follow-on question to that, which is, if we have a commercial area, but we have sewer avoidance zones where you can have commercial hookup, but you can't have residential hookup, right? Like, how do you decide that, right? If the new thing is that I have to, as a summary review,
Yeah.
allow this new residential, but I don't have the area approved for residential sewer use, like, can you say no, or do we have to go back and tell the WPCA they gotta think that through, right? Like, that's complicated.
I think it's gonna depend on whether it's a capacity issue or it's considered to be an exclusionary issue. Why does it exist is, I think, the first question to ask.
It's gonna be why commercial cause a lot of these uses are still, they're small, or they're the middle ones, middle housing ones. So if your capacity issue, if the flow is going to be less than what it is for a general commercial, that's where the court's gonna,
You're gonna have trouble.
Yeah.
defending
Okay.
and everything.
All right.
But there's a couple of things. I mean, we're gonna get into the whole depth of the bill. OPM has to do several studies. One is determining how much developable land is in Connecticut for housing, where it is. The other part of that is the wastewater and water supply study.
Wetlands, don't forget wetlands.
Well, wetlands doesn't change under this, right? We don't have any change under the wetlands.
no, you'll still go to yes, you'll go to wetlands and they'll do all their stuff, but for the first piece with summary review, wetlands will happen first. And I think in practice, either you're gonna change these things to zoning permits. So wetlands approval to your zoning enforcement officer, or it's gonna be wetlands to your planning and zoning commission or your zoning commission for site plan. You're not doing special use, special exception, special exemption. It's not a variance.
And I don't think we have any idea how this impacts towns with subdivision regulations, but no zone. I don't know how.
I think they're fine because it amended the zoning enabling act. So it didn't, that's 124, it didn't touch 126. So I think Bethlehem is the lucky one, right? Question mark?
Lucky us.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want.
Lucky or
lucky or lucky, depending on perspective.
Be exempt.
Yeah, cause it's specifically the zoning enabling act. You're not empowered under that.
You made a mistake then.
Yeah, right.
So there are some blessings.
So,
I've been looking for one.
the other thing I just wanted to mention, for this is we're waiting on an interpretation from OPM. So there are larger issues about how you opt into the regional plans or how you make certain decisions. And those decisions are given to the chief elected official and the commission, of each town.
Planning.
And we have no clarity on how that's to occur if there's disagreement between the chief elected official and the commission. We're at least waiting for an interpretation that decisions about opting into the plans or acting here at COG fall under chapter 124, which is the COG regulations and COG statutes, which means that the members of the town, the representatives, the CEO, and you make those decisions on behalf of your town at this table. So we're waiting on that clarification, but we expect that to be an open guidance since when it comes, the decision is yours, except where they're gonna find need for the commission to concur, right? All right,
Perfect.
please.
Can we get a copy of the slides? It's a
Oh, yeah.
it's a good lift off the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
thank you.
yeah, me too.
And I wanna thank SN again. You can't imagine the depth of work that she's doing alone with the working group, but her group here, Lana, Emily, and Dimitri have just really worked like crazy on this. And there's a lot more to go. All right, so we're moving on to the question the mayor started to raise. This is the other action that came out of yesterday's executive committee meeting. And this will officially be my longest director's report. So there was I'll just read the motion from George Temple, move to recommend to the full board to adopt the position to advocate
to the General Assembly moratorium of section 8 at 330G until such time as regional housing growth plans are effective under special session Public Act 25-1. That's seconded by Mayor Dunn, and the motion carried unanimously. So, this, what I put up on the screen here this morning, and I think we handed out copies to you, this is something we'll be, sending off to Brian O'Connor at CCM and to Betsy Guerra at POS. But the recommendation is that this body take a position that until the housing growth plans are in place and all the we understand all the rules of how everything's working, that 830G applications be suspended, acceptance of 830G applications be suspended. We laid this out in a statement of purpose format that a bill submission generally is in. So the purpose is to support logical, sensible implementation of the housing law and appropriately implement the goals of that law to build more housing as quickly as possible in places and zones that make sense for Connecticut's housing and job markets and regions. So this was what the executive committee recommended to this board to adopt. And it's in front of you today to decide whether you want to adopt this legislative position for the upcoming session. You could, if you're not comfortable taking a vote today, you could defer the next month.
Wait, does this need a when? Until when?
Until such time as the housing growth plans are effective under the law. So they're different in each region of the state.
Okay, so we don't need to make reference to that.
Well, I mean, we can fix the language what we submitted. We're gonna, if you approve this, my next step is to try and get a legislator, preferably in the majority, to submit it as a bill.
Which do you think the other times will go along with it?
I told them that you guys were leaning to moving in this direction at prior meetings. I don't know that every cog in Connecticut would take this position. There would be some opposition, I think, from some larger municipal entities.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for your support of this. I think that, this really, you look at it, doesn't make any sense. You know, Mark, you talked before about this is off the charts. I'm glad that, we've got I don't know whether we have to lobby in the other cogs. But, we're really a small percentage of the population of the state. And, and I know our cog is highly thought of.
We bat above our weight.
Right, and having said that, observation, like I said, support the logical and sensible implementation. That's not what those people do up in Harvard. I think you're confusing.
Are you saying logic?
Yeah, I mean, but that's not their forte.
Well, George, today.
If it gets a little knock on the head, then maybe just start using that,
Oh, God.
once in a while.
You got a knock on the head, you got.
When I call them, talk to them, that's the words I use. Where's your common sense? Where's your logic, please? Let's go.
Yeah, and
I
I
like
think to further that point, I mean, I've always advocated that we as a group of mayors and first selectmen around the state need to petition our state representatives and state senators. And I don't know why we don't do a better job of doing it. I can assure you that if I have to browbeat some of mine, I do it, and others. So, because we're the ones that have to live with this idiocy.
And how do we all agree when we're DRUs? We agree. All of us agree that it's wrong, and we'll send it up to people.
And in answer to First Selectman Temple's question, we'll share this with all the other cogs in the state if you adopt it. It'll go off to CCM, to Brian O'Connor, and who handles advocacy efforts there. It'll go to Betsy Guerra at POS. Those are probably the most likely partners on this, to lead on this issue at the General Assembly. We'll send it to our own advocate, in Hartford for this. And then it'll go out to all the legislators, the entire delegation will receive it.
Mark has a very good point.
What?
We gotta lobby our own people.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan. No, but I
It's
mean,
already on the case.
you know, you gotta get a hold of your state senators and state reps and,
So I'd be,
get behind it.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one other thing. We talked briefly yesterday about the, and it is the majority leaders roundtable, is supposed to deliver a report the end of this month, right? I think it's
February was
February
it?
1, I think.
I will give it to you.
To make changes to 830G. We're not quite sure what's going to come out of that process. SN, do you have a hint of what's coming out of that? Nothing.
Silence.
So, you know, we don't know what's coming out of that, but, you know, it does raise the question of whether we should take this position and not knowing that. But I think, you know, you guys have felt pretty strongly about that. You should take the position moving forward, it'll end up in the mix and discussion as things move forward. It'll take whatever route it takes through the General Assembly, either it's going to get considered and incorporated in some way or killed. You know, and the truth is, there's some, even the folks who are housing advocates who really love 830G know that it's not providing incentives for towns to get things done. Because you can't, you know, you can't change your numbers in 10 years. You can't meet your 10% in 10 years because of the numerator denominator issue. You know, as SM reminded me this morning at 5 a.m. It did,
I was up early.
the number, the number does get adjusted every 10 years. But it's still hard to catch up. It's still hard, it's virtually impossible to move forward.
At the end of the day, the long and short of it is you got two housing bills that are state law that neither one of them work.
No,
They don't work.
and they're confusing both.
I think that there are some pieces like summary review, the parking requirements to a lesser extent, that, you know, are immediate, they're real, you gotta deal with them. But the housing bill itself is really just a planning document. There's nothing mandatory in it. There are no penalties for not doing it. So the question is, how do we maneuver between what exists in 830G right now and what some of these provisions will actually result in applications to your towns. Bottom line with 830G versus a summary review, you're gonna get summary review applications after July 1. They're gonna come in. You need to be ready, you need to have your regulations amended to do it. But if we can hold off 830G, so we don't get, you know, what we're seeing is developers who own a piece of land filing 830G applications just to hold their standing, to get their place in line to make an appeal in case 830G goes away. And you're getting a lot of applications that are showing up, towns are getting a lot of those. That's what we want to rein in for now and try and control the
This
process.
is the only way to prevent that.
Well, I think it is, the only way to prevent it as a matter of law is to suspend the enforcement of the ability to file applications.
This thing is a foot in the door.
Yeah.
That's where they are.
Right,
Through the chair, the report's coming out February 1, so it's coming out in 2 weeks. So we can, as Rick's saying, act now or see what's in the report, because they're supposed to identify potential issues and benefits of changing the exception threshold to either a flat numerical value or an alternative model. So they may come up with something you find amenable better. We won't know though until February 1. And then there is one stick with the plans that we'll talk about in a further meeting, not today. You'll all kill me if we talk about it today. If you don't comply with the plan, if you don't have a municipal one or a regional housing growth plan, you are ineligible for an exemption under 830G. So that's the stick there. That's how they force you to do so. So it's a wet noodle in some places, but it is a bat in others.
Great question. I'm for this, so don't take it the wrong way, but what's the downside to adopting this? Everything's got a pro and a con and positive and a negative.
so I would say this is the only thing that makes sense. But the likelihood of this being accepted statewide to me is slim. But it's from a practical standpoint,
We got,
this is the only way to prevent chaos. And the way I see it, we're gonna have chaos, so we have to deal with it.
Find out, and have public hearing.
We need a motion.
But yeah, it's recommendations of,
Okay.
motion is to adopt this as part of our 2026 legislative objective.
I'll second.
Okay, great. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One more last thing on that. When you have a position statement, can we all have it so we can work with our local barrage, our local legislators?
Yeah.
The more helpful.
Yeah, we're gonna try to work on a little more background on the purpose. Can you pick this back up on, so and there's one other thing I just need to let you all know, out of yesterday's meeting. We've entered into, an agreement for, my employment here, for another 5 years. I'm not announcing my retirement, but I do, expect that this will be my final 5 years with the agency. Things can change, but, take us out through 2031. And I appreciate the confidence of the executive board in entering into this agreement. I look forward to transitioning the agency to new leadership and the same type of high level service that we provide to the towns. So, but I want to thank the board for their confidence and look forward to the next 5 years. All right, with that, I am done with my director's report.
Rick, did you go over relocation?
Oh.
I didn't see it, the slide.
Let me skip that. Yeah, slides are way back there now.
Okay.
Don't worry about it, Desiree. Mike, we just want to give a quick
Yeah,
relocation
okay,
update.
so quick update, so, very good. Demolition began, I think the second week of December, they finished 2 weeks ago with demolition. And they, I believe, are wrapping up the framing of the actual, all the framing of the new walls, and I don't know why I can't think of layout, the framing of the layout, as well as they're working on the electrical now. So next week, I do believe we have a meeting with the full team, Waterbury, the architects, contractors. Just a lot of them to also try to get a status update and to get a better idea of the timeline of when it should be complete. So either A, we could then go in and do what work we have to do, but also B, try to get some of that work done while the walls go. So data ports, security system. And the other side. And then, I mean, once that's complete, the only real other thing that we have to do is move. So, and we're working on packing up here, and getting, everything transitioned over, even like addresses, updating website, things of that.
So,
Anything I missed?
no, I just want to tell the members, so parking obviously is an issue and Waterbury is now embarking on a lot of preventative maintenance on their water system. So the streets are being dug up quickly without notice. So it's hard to get a spot. The parking garage for our new building the entry is at the end of this parking lot, at the end of the block. There's a entry to it's actually the entry to that building as well as the state office building parking garage. It's not really well marked, but you can tell it's a parking entry. With your new placards, and if you don't have your new parking placard, you get them from Trish before you leave today. Put them on your car, and if you have trouble finding space, you can park in that garage, which is right here at the end of the block, and just walk back out of the garage over to here until we go. So it shouldn't be a problem. If anyone ever gives you trouble, you just tell them you're going to the COG, and if they have any question, they call the mayor's office. It's parking division. Now, it is gonna change. Laz is gonna take over management. Well, I'll continue to work on this to make sure you guys have access while we have these meetings. But and then we should have a different, more immediate parking arrangement when we're in the building.
When is that move gonna take place?
Well, we get control of the building in March supposedly, so.
I will say the construction team that they did hire, they are moving very quickly. So it's actually like, they're moving so quick, I was like, oh, guys, slow down a little bit, we need to make sure everything's good as we go, but no, they're doing a good job.
Are there a lot of spots in the parking garage?
So the parking garage has decent availability. The city is going to be, at least for the first 4 years, that swing space for them as they redo the Chase building. No city employees will be parking in that garage, so it's really just us. There's an ear, nose, and throat practice and their patients. And then eventually the probate court will be on the
second floor, I think. So, but there's 100 parking spaces in there, and it shouldn't be a problem on most days to get in there and get a space. But once it's under active management, under LAS, I'm not sure what the key card access control or validation systems are gonna be.
Well, all right with Mayor Hess, he always seems to get a parking spot out front here.
He makes one.
By the way, for the new members, if you don't know, this entitles you to park in illegal parking spots and be protected by the city of Waterbury.
This meeting is recorded there.
Yellow.
The new ones are yellow.
The yellow.
We're collecting the red ones and you need the yellow ones. So the red ones won't be of any use after, the end of this month. So. Trish has your parking passes if you haven't collected them.
Well, why don't you forward to Matt?
All right, we'll send it to them. Okay, so we, obviously we knew this was gonna be a lot to talk about, for community planning, for their presentation of what they do, to you. So we don't have environmental planning on the agenda today, and we have really short, transportation and, municipal services, and no MPT today. Good. So we should be able to get through community planning, and then quickly through the last two, and then we can adjourn for the holiday luncheon.
All right, Savannah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board. I was looking for my water, but I lost it, so we're gonna power through it, we're gonna be good. So I just wanna first say, I'm masking up because I had a minor procedure and I don't want the flu that Mayor Paderewski has, so I hope he feels better, but that's what's going on over here. So I thank you for your understanding, but if you can't hear me, just please let me know and I'll get louder. Today I'm gonna give you an introduction to the Community Planning Division at NVCOG. We're gonna start with a high-level overview of our division and its focus. We're gonna go over a few examples of our municipal support. I think that's what you're most interested in is what can we do for you guys. We'll discuss our regional plans and projects, and then there's gonna be time for question and answer at the end. But if at any point you wanna stop me and ask a question as I'm going, please feel free to do so. Next slide, please. So NVCOG's Community Planning Division currently consists of 4 members. I'm Savannah Nicole Bielba, AICP EZ2. I serve as the Community Planning Director. Lana Harrison is our Senior Community Planner. Emily Ricky is our Community Planner 2, and Dimitri Cole serves as our Housing and Community Planner. So we hope to add 2 additional members to our team in the first.
You have 2 vacancies.
Yes, I'm saying it diplomatically. We're trying to hire 2 more people into our team. One will be a senior community planner and one will be a senior housing and community planner. Filling these positions is going to add the additional capacity to our shop so we can continue to provide you with that high quality technical assistance on all things land use, housing, and comprehensive planning. We also usually take a summer intern yearly. Our most recent intern graduated from Wolcott and she's been with us for the last 2 summers. So if you know any eager or passionate high schoolers, undergrad or graduate students in your community that come to you because they want to learn about planning, we like all of them, but we really like the ones from our region. So please feel free to send them our way. Next slide, please. So I think our focus can be summed up in this little schema. We can serve you, your staff, your boards and commissions, and or your broader community in matters as they relate to land use, comprehensive planning, and our housing. And the 2 main ways we do this is through technical assistance and community engagement. So next slide, please. All you have to do is ask. And so I just want to articulate, when your staff asks for assistance, usually we're speaking to your zoning enforcement officer, your land use administrator, your town planner. We generally provide it and just include you as a CC so you know the conversations that we're getting and the questions they're asking us. However, if it's one of your boards or commissions, or it's just a broader member of the community, we always come to you first. We'll put it in front of you to say, hey, this nonprofit reached out, they'd like us to be involved. We'll call you if you want to call us instead of having that in writing. But we talk to you first before we engage in that way. Some communities say yes, some say no. Your discretion falls both ways. Okay, so our main land use offerings are legislative analyses, education and training, and technical assistance. And so when I say land use, I mean a variety of your boards and commissions, your planning commission, your zoning commission, your combined planning and zoning commission, your inland wetlands commission, your aquifer protection agency, your historic district commission, your zoning board of appeals. If you have a commission that's doing land use and regulating through land use, feel free to send them our way. We're more than happy and have the agencies to provide TA. So in terms of legislative analyses, we can analyze legislation as it relates to each of our divisions. So environment does it for environmental bills, transportation does it for transportation related. We do it for land use, comp plan and housing. And we can do this for new public acts or other statutory questions. I know I owe you for Selectman Cilio, overview of 830G. So we do it that way too. So we can give that information, something that exists or something new. What I pulled underneath the legislative analyses slide here are just examples of older ones we've done. That's 2021 for Public Act 2129, and the cannabis summary, and then a legislative land use brief we did in 2023. They're all there just to say we've been in this game for a bit. We provide high quality legislative reviews. I'm really looking forward for you seeing the one we did for this public act. It takes us a while because we do it well. And so that land use brief kind of leads us nicely into the education and training pieces. We can offer education and training to your staff and your commissioners. So we put on a comprehensive land use training every 4 years because your commissioners have to be trained every 4 years or the longer of their term. And that's CGS section 8-4C. So once every 4 years, NVCOG will always do something to help your communities with that. Again, CGS section 8-4C. In our first training run, we partnered with the city of Ansonia and Waterbury to run 2 fully unique 4-hour trainings with different offerings that our region could lead and be overtly as much compliant as possible. We also put on trainings for your staff. So we ran a 7-month aquifer compliance workshop in partnership with DEEP. We've also run virtual coffee hours with the Department of Housing as they relate to 8-30G. While we often advertise these for your staff, we always encourage you to attend. You get the email if it's a subject you're interested in or is relevant for your community. We recommend you pop in, but they're also recorded, so you can always find them later. And so that QR code brings you to NVCOG's Education and Trainings resource page. It's a treasure trove of information. It's a good place just to peek if you want to see if we've already done it or we've already covered a subject. Then in terms of technical assistance, often our land use technical assistance happens through attending land use meetings to talk about a specific topic, such as how to regulate smoke shops and Naugatuck for their zoning commission. We had a lot of fun working on that with the zoning enforcement officer and the borough's attorney. And then we also can informally review land use regulations. So if you are initiating a regulation in your staff, these things, it's another example. You want to change something in your regs, some communities will send them to us and I'll send them back a document where I've tinkered or I've offered notes or questions on how I'm reading it, and you take it or leave it, but it is helpful sometimes to have someone that you can bounce those things off of. All right, next slide. Okay, so NVCOG can offer comprehensive planning services to a limited number of municipalities at a time. When we hire a new senior community planner, we anticipate being able to expand this offering. As of right now, we're very close to a contract with Plymouth, and we're in talks with 2 other communities about facilitating their POCD processes. We're kind of at our max until we can hire, and even for the communities we're still in conversation with, we're not ready for a start now. We just don't have the capacity currently in-house. So Plymouth beat everyone, so you get
I'll take it.
But our first collaboration was with the town of Thomaston. That's where community planning really got to meet for Selectman Cilio prior to his position. And so it was wonderful to get to know him there. We established an award-winning youth engagement program, and we had a lot of fun engaging with the broader Thomaston community. At the end of our more comprehensive processes, we always get feedback from those we were most involved with. So just a high-level way to tell you what Thomaston thought about our work. Our staff, and it's not just community planning, when we do comprehensive planning, it's interdisciplinary. Aaron and his team, Rich and his team were in the subject matter meetings. They were involved at the summit. So when I say NVCOG staff, I really mean all of NVCOG staff here. We're trusted for our subject matter expertise and our ability to effectively communicate technical concepts. We adequately involved the Thomaston community, and our staff treated the community with respect. The process will increase and did increase the knowledge about planning in Thomaston. They felt our recommendations were feasible and appropriate. And I think most importantly, a big concern with plans of conservation and development is you want them to actually be implementable. You don't want to just do it and have it sit on a shelf. The town felt ownership over their plan, and the committee is committed to being champions of what they created. So we're really hoping to create a model in which you've made this plan and it actually becomes the plan for your next 10 years. I'll also note that if we can't provide full facilitation, our mapping data and technology team always are willing and able to provide relevant maps and data. And then we have played more limited roles in supporting updates. We did so with the Borough of Naugatuck. We worked closely with their town planner and helping change the plan so that it was in a good place for the commission. So whether you want help with a full rewrite or an amendment, your best bet is to reach out. The worst we tell you is not now, or we tell you what you need to know to see if you can get in our pipeline and it aligns with your timelines. Sometimes it just doesn't, but we're looking forward to continuing to expand this up. Next slide, please. So we believe NVCOG was the first COG to establish a housing program. We did so in 2021. And since then, we've doubled our staff and we're looking forward to continuing to add more. And we've expanded what we can offer. So in terms of that legislative and statutory assistance, think about the special session public act summary that's coming. Again, by the end of the month, we're working really, really hard. And we're going to provide a variety of programming that we'll make sure you're adequately noticed about. Because nothing's worse than getting something a day before and you're already booked out in meetings. So I'm going to try our best to make sure these things can get on your calendar if this is something you need to pay attention to. We also do a lot of work in helping municipalities with 8-30G. So to provide an example, we assisted the town of Oxford with collecting and researching their deed restricted units to update their appeals list. That's kind of a big task, but we do it for communities when needed. We're also becoming a lot more proficient in the moratorium process. So if you think your community's close to a moratorium, or you just kind of want to know where you sit, HUE, housing unit equivalent points, you can reach out and we can do those calculations for you. There's some contingencies, but that's a separate conversation. And then we can also provide you assistance with various planning efforts, such as a housing needs assessment or some affordable housing planning. I'm going to note, and I'm going to note it again later, but our affordable housing plan offerings are going to change to reflect the new legislation and the special act. So just stay tuned about what that planning piece really looks like. But we are committed to supporting municipalities who opt into the regional process and achieving compliance under the new special act. I always have to put in a plug for our housing needs assessments. They're really interesting because they look at your current household's income and your current household stock prices for your current renters and owners, and they show you how your current households are occupying your current stock. And so it's an interesting analysis. They're valuable planning tools in the sense that they can help you refine your affordable housing policies. They'll show you, a lot of you have not enough 0 to 30% AMI housing. We understand that it needs subsidy to be built, but you can be writing zoning regulations that say you would like 5% of the units to be at that threshold. So it allows for more intentional planning. And we've found in the communities which we've done them in over, I think at least five. It's really helped commissioners understand what your income limits are, what really is affordable housing. So they're valuable ground truthing kind of level setting conversations that we can do. And then in terms of education and capacity support, you can come to commission meetings to talk about a variety of topics. This one kind of saddles the land use and housing. We had a lot of fun going to Oxford to talk about zoning to encourage housing development. We talked about some alternative zoning techniques, and you see it jazzes me up. I enjoy the conversation. And then we can also provide capacity support the way we did in Bethlehem. We worked with Bethlehem for a few years on establishing their Affordable Housing Commission, and they decided to work to create a new housing trust. And it was really an honor to get to be a part of those processes. And we also got to help in drafting the initial ordinance for that commission. So, it was always wonderful to get to be in meetings with you in that capacity and to see you at this table. So know that we can do those sort of TA building if you've got someone you want to encourage to make more affordable housing. And then we'll also be prepared to provide some TA as it relates to complying with the new housing bill. Okay, I'm almost done, I promise. This is the regional plans and projects. I'm gonna go much quicker through this section because you hear about this the most often in the board meetings. The point of that first section was just to kind of show you what we could do for your communities. For the new chief elected officials, you saw what we did in your community and a little bit of this part, a little bit of what we do, but this is really the high level, you can see everything. Okay, so on the land use side, we're statutorily required to review certain land use decisions. That QR code brings you to our referrals website in the land use purple box. That explains when and why we have to do so. Emily runs our referrals program. She's going to give you a brief update about what it is for new members after I go. And so the only thing I'll note here is every year we do an annual land use referral summary where we show you the trends of the type of referrals we receive. That's going to be done and submitted to you by the end of the month. Emily will talk about it at the February meeting. For the comprehensive planning, we're working on the region's first regional plan of conservation and development. And Andrew Martelli is our fearless leader and steering committee chair. We really encourage you, if you do not have a representative, to please appoint one. If you are not sure if you have one, Emily can address that for you. Please, it's really time. It's been time, but we're there. We need someone to be participating. So our regional plan is focused on 5 action principles. This was in your packet. It's the flyer of our action principles. These are broad vision statements that describe how we want to be able to talk about the region in 2036. We're currently in phase 2 of this process. So we're moving along and we're running concurrent internal and external planning processes. So I won't talk in detail about the internal, but for external, we held our first focus group on the first action principle in red in Cheshire last month. So thank you, Cheshire, and thank you, Chairman Martelli, for hosting us. It was very well attended. It was nice to see some chief elected officials and members of the board in the room. The next focus group is going to be on Tuesday, January 27th in Beacon Falls. You can register by scanning I think that QR code gets you where you need to go. If it doesn't, I'm going to Emily re-follow up with the bit.ly so that we'd love to see you there. It's a fun event. I'd say so. I liked it. But you can register, and then we're planning the second action principle at this meeting. So if you don't come to this one, but you're really interested in transportation, you want to go to those ones. If you're really interested in your Main Street, you pick and choose. This is what matters to you. I know it all does, but your passion project, we really want to see you there in the room. And so then the last piece here is we're also providing additional engagement to your commissioners. And we're going to come back around to you to make sure all the information we got in the regional planning process as it relates to each of your communities, you're going to get to be the final person at the end where we say, we got all this info. These are the plans, the projects, and the policies that we've gleaned from our process. Is there anything missing? Or are there any things on here that you wouldn't support or you'd like to see massaged a little? You will get another meeting with us. So thank you to everyone who was here and had an initial interview from Molly. Coming back around, that'll be later this year. And then finally, as previously mentioned, Special Session Public Act number 25-1 is significantly going to change what regional housing looks like for us. And so we need to do a variety of things: a regional housing needs assessment, a developable land analysis and inventory, regional housing growth plan, which is very interwoven with the stuff that you all have to do as municipalities. More details going to come about all those things as we continue to move through these processes. But just stay tuned to see what housing at the regional level looks like at NVCOG. It's very much going to change because of this bill. But we're ready and we're excited for it. We're ready to meet the challenge. So our division, as long as the rest of the staff, look forward to continued service in your municipalities. And so to everyone that's invited us into your community in any capacity before, we don't take that responsibility lightly, and we really like to provide that high quality that you come to know and expect out of our division. So with that, thanks for all your time today. Emily has one more thing for us, but do you have any questions about the overview?
Questions? Emily?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Ritchie. I'm Community Planner 2 here at NVCOG. So it's really great to meet everyone. So there are no actions being requested of you today. It's just merely an update on our referral reports. So municipalities in Connecticut are required to refer specific land use actions to the councils of governments for advisory review. These land use actions fall under 3 categories for review. The first are zoning referrals. So these are sent to NVCOG staff when a proposed zone change or regulation amendment will affect the use of a zone within 500 feet of another neighboring municipality. The second are subdivision referrals. These are sent to staff when the proposed subdivision of land will abut or include 2 or more municipalities. And then last category are plans of conservation and development referrals. POCDs are sent for advisory review to the COG that include findings of consistency with the regional POCD, the state plan, as well as that of surrounding municipalities POCDs. So as part of our referral work, meeting plans staff create bi-monthly referral reports to summarize referrals received and reviewed by NVCOG. This period's reports are included in your packet, were sent to you and your land use staff via email and covers referrals from October 1st to November 30th, 2025. We ask your staff to share the report with your land use commission and boards for their reference. Please look forward to the December and January referral report in the beginning of it. Previous referral reports can be found on the NVCOG website under the community planning project page. I'd be happy to take any questions we can. Thank you.
Thank you. So, we appreciate your energy, Savannah, and your entire team.
They call it bubbly.
And we will now shift to a brief municipal affairs report from Drew.
Thank you. Brief it will be. So just very quickly, the Homeland Security Grant Program, HSGP, and the Emergency Management Planning Grant Program, the EMPG funds for 2025 have not yet been accepted by the state of Connecticut due to pending litigation between the state and the federal government. Also just wanted to highlight, especially for those of you that have been here for a very long time, staffing changes at the Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, aka DEMIS. After 37 years, at the end of the month, Brenda Bergeron, who is the Deputy Commissioner of DEMIS, will be retiring. Additionally, there is a brand new recovery mitigation resilience unit led by Zachary Smith, who previously worked for FEMA. We look forward to collaborating with Zach on, I know sustainability and resilience are hot button issues in the state. And just for one other note that I don't have here, as most of you know, John Field, who previously was the Region 5 coordinator for us, has moved on to a different position in a local municipality. But we are joined by Chris Bernier, who is John's replacement, who is going to be attending these meetings, I believe, on a regular basis. So he is online. I just didn't know if he had anything to add, Mr. Chairman, through you.
Okay, Chris?
Good morning, everyone. I apologize. My camera is not working on this particular computer this morning, so unfortunately you can't see me at the moment. But yes, good morning. Thank you for having me join this meeting. I am the new Region 5 coordinator, which is made up of 43 municipalities, right, within the northwest part of the state. I know your particular COG also touches some of our other DEMIS. I know your meeting's running a little bit later. Happy to answer any questions if you have any specific things regarding the DEMIS, but I look forward to working with everyone here in the future.
Question for Chris? Thank you, Chris. You good, Drew?
Yes, sir. Also, super briefly on the Naugatuck Valley Corridor Economic Development District. So as mentioned last month, we do have funding available, or I should say the federal government through the Economic Development Administration does have funding available for disaster supplemental grant program. And that would be items that are directly related to the flooding from August 18th and 19th of last year, but also items that potentially prevent things like that from happening in the future. So our staff is working through lists of projects that we have already put together and are submitting for the climate resilience funding, as well as through our natural hazard mitigation plan and other plans that we put together to try to identify some things that may be of interest to you locally. We will be reaching out to you individually or to your staff to discuss if you want to put in a local application. We are also considering a regional application, and we will consider that based on the level of interest. So keep an eye out for that. And then finally, the SEDS, we have met with a vast majority of you at this table and or your local economic development professionals or commission members to talk about the SEDS report, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Those meetings are going really, really well, and thank you all for your time so far. We've learned a lot. We will be working on a draft report and then plan to get the advisory board together in February to kind of talk about where we are at this point.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's go to Kevin Ellis, transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Ellis. I'm a senior engineer here at NVCOG. I wanted to let you guys know that next week on the 21st, there'll be a lunch and learn about the state local bridge program. Andrew Shields will be coming down from DOT who runs the program and speaking about this program. So if you have any local bridges in your municipality that needs to be improved or updated next couple of years, you're looking for a funding source, the state local bridge program is a great place to do that. So there's a registration QR code that you can scan, so you can either register here in person or online to attend the lunch and learn. And I'll take any questions.
Question. All right, round table. Hearing none, we'll go to.
Two quick seconds for everyone. So we've diverted from our normal format for the last few months to give you a presentation from each of the divisions. We'll be returning to our normal format next month. So I believe we have a presenter scheduled for next month already. Do we? We do not. Okay. Okay. So, but we are going to go back to our normal format, which is a presenter at the beginning of the meeting, external person, and then usually a full report. And no, we're going to do Kennytown Dam and municipal data and environmental planning next month. So those will be the presentations. That's why we don't have a presenter. So Kennytown Dam is a large project. We haven't explained it to all of you, particularly the new ones. We've touched on it when we come out to do the orientations in the towns, but it's a large effort of the region, so we need to get you all up to speed on that. But the property is not in our hands, it's in the hands of the land bank now, so. All right, that's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
To adjourn. Party found.
Yes.